everyone. My name is Christopher Allen, and I am the founder and CEO of Brutus Monroe. I am honored to be a part of the Scrapbooking Cards Today Partner Celebration. Today we are going to go over our newest release, Let's Do Brunch. This release is full of all sorts of sweet and savory products. Let's go ahead and head down to the table. All right, friends. So to start everything out, we created this really fun and really kind of quirky menu. So this is the Downtown Diner menu for Brutus Monroe. Obviously, Brutus Monroe is not a diner. We are a papercraft company, but this really cool menu is going to help me to go through all of the items that we have available in this release. You can also download this really, really fun menu on our website. So let's go ahead and set this aside, and I'm going to show you a couple of things that are in this release. So first and foremost, we do have our inspiration box. So it's called an inspiration box, but it's not really an inspiration box because it's now an inspiration kit / bag. So in this kit, let's go ahead and open this up. You do always receive this really, really nice little mesh bag that has, the branding on it of what the collection is. And you will receive a little sheet that's going to show you all of the things that you can make with the release. But let's go ahead and dig right into what's inside. So first you are going to receive a piece of this is our lunch bag cardstock and our buttercream cardstock. You are also going to receive a piece of our prism paper. This is really great for whenever you are making your toasters when you see what else is in the kit. You're also going to receive a piece of white foam. This is like a craft foam that you can use for your toast. You will receive 5 of our card bases. These are already pre-scored and pre-cut for you, so you just kind of fold them in half. You receive the Breakfast Bites paper pad. As you can see here, it's all sorts of really great different breakfast items. You will receive our Brutella, which is our little fake hazelnut spread that you can use on your projects. You are also going to receive this really, really large die set. This die set will cut out all of the pieces that you see here, and then on the back it shows you all the pieces. So this will actually create a little box if you would like to put things in, or it will also create, you could just cut off the sides, and that's what we're going to do today to create our little card we're going to make. You will receive the Toaster Sentiments stamp set. So it has different things on it like "You're totally my jam," "I loaf you," "You're the jelly to my peanut butter," "You're the loaf of my life," "Have a great day," and there are also coordinating dies available for this as well. And then you will receive a sticker sheet. So this sticker sheet matches perfectly with the Breakfast Bites paper pad. So that is the inspiration kit for this month. Okay, next up we are going to talk about the other items from this release, and then once we have finished up talking about those, I'm going to make a really, really fun card with you. So another item from the release is an additional paper pad. This is called Nana's Tablecloths, and it is all sorts of really fun and really unique tablecloth designs. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this up. This reminds me of my Graham's tablecloths, but my Graham's tablecloths were all covered in plastic, so I wasn't really allowed to feel the texture of the tablecloth. It was more plastic, but you'll see here that these are just all different, very, very fun and unique designs that mimic like a tablecloth, or what I would consider almost like a tea towel would be something that this mimics as well. So there is an A and a B side. So the A side is going to have your patterns, and then the B side is going to be just a color that complements that pattern. So these are really, really great for making like little envelopes and things like that, because whenever you have the reverse side, you can obviously, have a solid color on the inside and have a pattern on the outside. Then we have our stamp club this month. So the stamp club is called Pastry Pal. It's a little pastry guy there, and we have a sentiment like "What's popping" and "Popping by to say hi." And then for Stamp Club Plus, you would get the die as well. So we have Stamp Club, and then we have Stamp Club Plus. You can be a member of either. Stamp Club is $5 a month. I will never ever change that. It's like the Costco hot dog. No matter what changes in the price of stamps, we will always offer a $5 a month stamp option or club option, just simply because I think that Stamping should be accessible to everybody, and for, I mean, really the price of a cup of coffee, you'd be able to get a stamp every month. Then we have our die of the month. The die of this month is called Breakfast Bunch. So you're going to receive a whole bunch of different pieces to create your favorite brunch or breakfast card. So we have, or project, scrapbook page. So we have a little toaster pastry, we have a waffle, we have eggs, we have bacon, we have peaches, and then of course we have a little banana there. So lots of fun little options for you. And this is only $15 a month shipped. So if you sign up for this, you get a brand new die design every single month, and it's $15 shipped out to you. Then we can move into a couple of the different sentiment items that we have. So we do have the breakfast puns. This is a really, really fun stamp set. It has things in it like nobody stacks up to you, you're a peach, I'm bananas for you, I love you a waffle lot, you are the eggs to my bacon, I love you from the bottom of my tart. And of course, there are little icons that you can use as well. So if you don't have any of the other items that coordinate with this, you could just utilize this and it would work really great for your cards. So this is the stamp, and then there's also a die that is available. So you can either purchase just the stamp, or you purchase the stamp and the die as a combo. And of course, there is a discounted rate if you purchase both of those. Then we do have, of course, again, the Toaster Sentiments coordinating die that is available for the item that is in the inspiration box. We have some really cool stitching options this month. So the very first one is the stitched borders. The thing that I really love about this particular cutting die is that there's a lot of stitched items that are out there on the market right now. I get that. We are completely overflowing with stitched items. But one thing that I had not seen is a stitched item that does not just cut into the paper. So what that means is this is actually a border. So it's going to cut out the full stitching piece as well as the stitching, the little stitching, I guess, the holes. So as you can see on the back, this is what it will look like once it's cut out. And when you cut it out, this is how your stitching lines will work. So it shows you kind of an idea of how you can stitch it. But what's really awesome about this is that it's going to cut this out completely. So if you just want to add like a little stitched border or something to the bottom of your die, or excuse me, to the bottom of your card, you can do that. You don't have to have it completely incorporated into your set or your project. And then we have the stitched border stamp. So this works in tandem with the stitched borders die. So let's say you don't want to stitch. Let's say that you want to just cut out your die, you want to use it on your project, but you don't want to do any stitching. You can do that with this product. So this coordinates perfectly with this. So as you can see, these stitching marks are exactly the same as this stamp. So you can go and you can cut this out, you can stamp this on top of this, and you can kind of mimic the look of the stitching. So you don't have to actually do the stitching. Or you can just use this on a card to make it look like they're stitching and not utilize the die. Really, the options are unlimited, and I think it's going to be really great for the holiday months coming up to create some really pretty projects. Then we have a couple of consumables, and the consumables are our sugar glitter. So this glitter was created to mimic like a sugar that would be on top of a like a toast or a waffle or something like that, and it is very sparkly, very sparkly, and it comes in this cute little container. Then we have the faux honey. So this looks a lot like honey, but I promise you it is not. It is actually a mixed media product, and whenever you pour it onto your project and you allow it time to dry, it is going to create the coolest kind of honey glazed look to your waffles, to your pancakes, to anything that you would put honey on. And I can tell you that these have been restocked a couple of times. So we are constantly trying to restock it because this little bear has been very popular. Then we have a brand new Squeaky Clean. So our Squeaky Clean is our stamp cleaner, but we just in the recent years have started to add scents to it so that we can always have fresh and new ideas for our Squeaky Cleans. And I mean, stamp cleaning should be fun. So I think the only way to really make it fun is to give you great new scents. So this one is called Breakfast in Bed. and it smells just like maple syrup and pancakes, and it's a very sweet, very, 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 it just has a really, really great scent to it. Okay. Then we have our cinnamon sugar embossing powder. So this is brand new as well. The cinnamon sugar embossing powder is actually, it's kind of a mix. So when you put it onto your toast, or you put it onto maybe like a brown sugar pastry, and you heat set it, it really does look like cinnamon sugar, and it's a really, really cool product. And then our embossing powder of the month this month is called Scramble. So the embossing powder of the month is also another great thing that you can receive every month. It comes in this great 1 ounce bag, and we do sell separately the jars if you do want to pour this into a jar as opposed to having it in the bag. But I really love it in this bag because the bag does have a base to it. So when you open it, the base pops open and you can just pour your powder right back in. So that is everything that we have for this release, and now we can go ahead and get started on our project. All right, everyone, let's go ahead and let's get started on our project. So first and foremost, I'm gonna grab a Brutus Monroe stick and stamp mat. This stick and stamp mat you can see has been well loved, but is still very sticky. I think this is one of my original ones. And I also grabbed a blending buddy. So the blending buddy is the perfect companion for your stick and stamp mat because it is a piece of Mylar that has little notches in it that is perfectly trimmed so that you can put a piece of A2 paper inside and not mess up the sticky on the outside. Then I'm going to grab a piece of our Perfect Blend cardstock. This cardstock actually originates from the digital press industry, and it is super ultra smooth. So it works really, really great when you're blending. It works really great when you're not watercoloring, excuse me, when you're using alcohol markers, and it's just a really great cardstock. It comes in multiple sizes, but our two most popular are the A2 size. It comes pre-cut this size, or the full letter size. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take also our stencil, one of the stencils from the release. This is the Atomic Stars layering stencil. It's not going to look like a whole lot now because it's in different pieces, but it is going to be really cool once we actually go ahead and layer it up. You'll want to note on this stencil that there are little etching marks at the top that shows you which is the top portion of the stencil. It says layer 2 top and layer 1, or layer 2 top and layer 1 top. So you can use this in whichever way you want. This one, you know, they're both kind of can be the top, so it doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that this is the top of your actual stencil. I'm going to use the circles first. I'm going to grab a little bit of pixie spray. When you are doing a more detailed stencil, I cannot suggest pixie spray enough. You give it a little spritz from a couple of inches away. You're going to give it a little fan so that it starts the kind of adhesion process. And then we're just going to place our stencil right on top. It's as easy as that. And you can see here that our stencil is placed and ready to go. Next, we're going to take a couple of different inks. We're going to do a rainbow of inks. So we're going to grab some Simon Hurley Bee Sting. We're going to grab some of the Simon Hurley Roar. We are also going to use the Simon Hurley Shooting Star. Well, actually, let's use Psych. We're going to use the Psych. We are going to use the Later Gator. We're going to grab the Clear Skies. And then last but certainly not least, my favorite purple from his collection is the Crown Me. So these are all of the shades that we're going to use. And we're not going to do a typical rainbow. We're actually going to start up here towards the top. So let me grab my blending brush and I'll show you. We're going to start kind of right here in the upper right hand corner because we're going to kind of create a blend of it all the way around. So you can see here we've started with our red, and we're going to take this red, and once we have finished the red, we're going to move on to our orange, which is, so the red was Bee Sting, the orange is Roar. So I'm going to grab again my blending brush, but an orange one, and I'm just going to again go around and add some color or apply some color around the edges of this stencil. So you can see here I'm going back into the previous color and adding just a little bit of color, so you can see how my rainbow is starting to take form. So then we'll grab our cyc, which is the yellow. I'm gonna grab a little bit of that color on our blending brush, and we're gonna go in and we're going to add some of that color as well. Now at this point, I'm gonna kind of come all the way down, and that will create the yellow portion of our rainbow. And then we will grab our later gator, which is the green, and we're just gonna focus the green in this area right here. So you'll wanna make sure that you're bringing a little bit of that color up into the previous colors so that it really looks like that cool vintagey kind of wash of color. And you'll see what I mean once we add the next layer. So now you can see just how beautiful those little polka dots are, but we're not done because there's another layer that will get it added to this as well. So then we're gonna grab our clear skies, which is the blue, and we're gonna add our clear skies just into this area right here. And again, as you can see, I'm mixing in to our previous colors. That's a very important step. You wanna blend and mix into your other colors. And then last but certainly not least, we are going to grab Crown Me. And we're just gonna mix that down here in this corner. And it's okay if it gets into a little bit of the yellow. We want it to get into a little bit of the blue. And there you can see we now have a little purple. So we have the perfect little rainbow, but it's not going in one direction, which I really, really love. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna peel this stencil off, but keep our piece down. And you can see here how beautifully that blended because again, we used that pixie spray. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab my second stencil, okay, make sure that we have the layer 2 top there. Grab our pixie spray again, hit it with a little bit of pixie spray. But there's one thing I want you to note about this stencil. So you can see, hopefully, see these little registration marks? There are little circle registration marks that are etched into the stencil. So all you have to do is line up those little circle registration marks, and we have not added a circle registration mark to every single one. There are only a couple of strategically placed registration marks. And the reason for that is we didn't want to bog you down with a gajillion registration marks. We just wanted to give you the ones that we thought were going to be the most pertinent for you to utilize. Then I'm gonna grab a little bit of the Simon Hurley Weeping Willow, which is just this absolutely stunning, stunning brown. And we're gonna go in and we're gonna do our little starbursts for the outside. So you're just gonna go in. This isn't a really super, blendable stencil layer because this stencil layer is just the little arms for the stars, or the, I guess, atomic stars, which is the name of this stencil. One of my favorite blending stencils or layering stencils that we've ever done. So go on in and finish up the blending. And I use the term blending loosely with this one because you're not really blending. You're just kind of adding the color in. All right, and then when we lift this off, you're gonna see just how cool this stencil turns out. So we'll lift this off and look at how fun. I just think that's one of the coolest backgrounds for a card ever. And this is actually the background for our card. So we just made our background. So step one is completed for our card. So now we're going to go ahead and build up some die cuts on the card. Okay, so now that our card first layer is done, we're going to set that aside and we are going to start taking a look at our die cut pieces. So I've already pre-cut all of these, die cut these ahead of time to save us on time. And the very first one that I cut out is actually from the Toaster Treat Box die set. I cut out a couple of these just in case, but normally what you would do is this would actually turn into a box, but we're gonna trim this off and we're gonna use just the toaster. I use some of our alcohol marker safe glitter stock. This glitter stock is manufactured specifically for you to be able to draw and write on, and you can use your alcohol markers with this, which is really cool, and it won't damage them. Then we cut our base piece for the toaster treat box. So this piece actually layers like so. And then I picked this really fun and funky pattern from the Nana's tablecloths because I just thought it would be really cool to do like a retro kind of a toaster. Thought that'd be a lot of fun. So next up, we have our sentiment also that we're going to use, and this sentiment is from the from the Breakfast Puns, and it says "I love you from the bottom of my tart," which I thought was super cute because we are going to be adding on these little toaster pastries, but we have to add a little bit of color to our toaster pastry as well as a little bit of icing. So what I would suggest doing, this is a quick tip, I have another stick and stamp mat here, and what I did was I actually saved my die cut pieces that I used to die cut out my little toaster treat pieces. So what I can do then is I can just pop these right back inside of here. They're going to stick perfectly to our stick and stamp mat, but then what we can do is we can go in and blend them, and we're not going to affect our stick and stamp mat, and we are also not going to get ink all over the place whenever we're actually putting these together. So go ahead and give it one good kind of smudge down, and then we are going to grab again the Weeping Willow. There should be enough on this brush though for me to get started, and it looks like there is. We just want to add a little bit of color so that it gives the illusion that this has been toasted. So I'm going around and adding a little bit of color. The base layer is obviously going to be a little bit more toasted, I think, than the top layer is going to be. So we're just going around, we're going to add a little bit of color, and this can be very haphazard because obviously whenever you are toasting up a toaster pastry, it's never going to be an even toasting. I don't know if any of y'all have ever made a toaster pastry, but any that I have made for my niece and nephew and even for myself, they have never been even. There's never been an even toasting on it. So just kind of have fun with it. Add a little bit of color here, a little bit of color there. Don't stress about it. You're just adding a little bit of color to create that kind of toastery look to it, because again, you're never going to get a fully even toasting, especially in just a standard toaster of your little toaster pastry. All right, so now we have toasted up our little toaster pastries, and we can pull those right off of our stick and stamp mat. You can save this if you want to use this for additional ones if you're making more of them. So we're gonna pop this off of here, pop that off of there, and now what we need to do is we need to add a little bit of icing to these. So the way that I'm going to create the icing, brown sugar Pop-Tarts are one of my absolute favorite that are out there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a little, this is one of our little grid mats, this is from our Create Your Own Ending event this year, and I'm going to grab just a dauber. This is just a standard, ink dauber, and I'm going to grab some of the Brutus Monroe embossing ink. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab this ink and I'm just going to hit it right here in the center. So this is generally where I would say there would be some frosting on these. So I'm just going to tap right here in the center, grabbing some more of that embossing ink, because it's never out to the edges, right? I mean, at least mine have never been out completely to the edges. It's just kind of, because I think they go down the conveyor belt and they get their icing right down the center. All right, so now we are going to grab some of the cinnamon sugar embossing powder. So when you get your cinnamon sugar embossing powder, you're just going to pop this open, and we are going to dump a little bit of this on top of our, I mean, it already looks like cinnamon sugar whenever you dump it on there. So you can see it's got some coverage to it. And this is again going to create the illusion of some icing on top of here. So a little bit more. And then when you're all done, you pop this open at the bottom and you pour it all right back in, okay? So I'm going to do that very quickly right now. Right back into our bag. Easy peasy. And then you close it up and you can just put it right into your drawer or wherever you store your embossing powders. All right, so let's go ahead and heat these up and get them ready to go onto their backing piece. Another tip is you want to make sure that when you're heat embossing, your heat tool is heated up enough so that you don't burn or scorch your embossing powder. And also I would suggest using like a tweezer or a clothespin when you're heat embossing. The only reason I don't is because I don't think I have any feeling left in my fingers from embossing for so many years, but you will want to have safety first when you're doing it. All right, and our second side. Now we're good to go. So now I can show you just how this looks. See how it adds that icing layer to it? I think that's super, super cool. Really, really cool. All right, so now we can start the assembly process. So let's move all of our little pieces out of the way here, and we are going to trim down our panel to 4 by 5 1/4. All right, so we have trimmed down our panel, so we are ready to start assembly. I'm going to grab one of the Brutus Monroe pre-scored and pre-trimmed down card bases. These are one of my absolute favorite things to start with, and we're going to start assembling. So we'll take our piece here. This is the piece that we used the stencil on. Add a little bit of adhesive to the back here, and we can apply that directly onto our card base. Okay, and then we're going to take our toaster. So the toaster, you're going to have to grab yourself a pair of scissors, and you'll see there's a score line here and here and here. Normally that would be utilized for making it into a box, but we're just going to cut right along that score line. And when we cut along the score line, it's going to give us the ability to use this just as a toaster. Okay, so you'll see our toaster will pop up right there. So let's put our pieces onto the toaster because we are going to actually pop up the toaster. And you can see here, the great thing about this pattern paper is the reverse side of it is actually the color that coordinates with it. So you don't have to worry about if it coordinates because it makes it super, super simple. And then we're going to grab our pattern piece for the top. Add a little bit of adhesive. And that just nestles perfectly right inside. Let me actually adjust this a little bit. I don't want to get my head in the frame, but sometimes you have to look right over top of it. There we go. So now we have our little toaster all set up into the right place. I may have to add a little bit more adhesive to that. No, I think we're good. All right, so let me flip that over. I'm going to grab a little bit of the Brutus Monroe foam tape and apply that to the back because we do want this toaster to be popped up a little bit. So let me grab a couple pieces of foam tape. So we can get this toaster popped up. And again, if you want to use this like the toaster box, you can. We have a great video on the Brutus Monroe YouTube channel, where Shannon, who is the director of our inspiration team, she actually created the little toaster box and she put recipe cards in it. And you can also download those recipe cards for free on our website. So we're going to place our little toaster here, kind of center adjacent. I love how retro all of this looks. I think it's so cool. Then we're going to assemble our little pastries. You could, of course, use wet glue if you would like. If any of you have ever taken a class with me, you know that I am not a big fan of wet glue. I like dry adhesive, but I'll use wet glue if I'm forced. So add a little bit of that adhesive on there, and then we're going to place our little toaster treats together. And then we'll apply a little bit of adhesive to the back of that, and we're just going to have these kind of popping out of the top of our card. Just like how they would kind of pop out of the toaster. And you can see just, I love the icing when it catches the light. And then we're going to take our sentiment, which is I love you from the bottom of my tart. We're going to grab a little bit more of that foam adhesive. Pop that on the back here. And let me grab my stabby tool, because I have nubby, crafty man hands, and it's hard for me to sometimes get those backers off. But there we go. So we have the I love you from the bottom of my tart. And as you can imagine, you could create so many different things with this. You can create a whole bunch of different, there are just so many different options. And I wanted to show you, this is what it looks like if you create it as a box, as all my little fillers falling out of here. But if you create it as a box, it has the little lever on the side, and it actually looks like a toaster, which I think is really, really cool. And that's it, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. I have had so much fun with each and every one of you, and I've had a lot of fun chatting along below. Just as an extra special little treat for all of you, if you use the code SCT Partner from right now until the end of August, you will receive 15% off of your entire order. Again, that is the code SCT Partner, and you will receive 15% off of your entire order as a little gift from us to you. So I hope you can find a whole bunch of really fun things on our website, whether it's Brunch or any of the other releases that we've done. So I will leave you with, remember to create something every single day, whether that is a really cool brunch card or your own ending. I will see you all very soon, and thank you for hanging out with me today. Goodbye, my friends.